The vid proves that cartoons featuring animals can be incredibly fun and are loved by audiences, but are there only animals in Peppa Pig's world? Where are the humans in the Piggy's universe? Firstly, we know that Peppa Pig's universe hosts a variety of fantastic beings, including talking vegetables like Mrs. Carrot, Little Sprout, and Mr. Blueberry. But undoubtedly, the most famous are Mr. Potato and Super Potato, who are celebrities in the Pink Piggy's world. Most of us thought they were the same character until they appeared together in the same episode, which was definitely a surprise. While sentient vegetables are a big mystery, today we'll try to uncover an even more intriguing mystery. Where are the humans in Peppa's world? It's known from past seasons that they do exist and are part of this world, yet we don't see them in large numbers. The most notable humans are definitely Santa Claus, the Queen of England, and the Pirate. But are they the only humans in the series? Where are all the others? Why do they appear so infrequently? Stay tuned until the end of this video to discover everything we've learned about these questions and how we found the answers in another cartoon by the same creators of Peppa Pig. The first human we see in the Peppa series is the famous Santa Claus. This happens in episode 52 of the third season, titled Santa's Visit, where all friends and townspeople receive their gifts, but not Peppa, which leaves her very sad and worried. Eventually, he returns and personally delivers a gift to our series protagonist.
Here's your present, Peppa.
Confirming that he indeed exists and is not some sort of piggy Santa, but rather a gentleman with a huge white beard whose actual role is delivering presents to everyone at Christmas. Although considered a magical and fantastic being, we can't deny that Santa Claus is a human with human traits, very different from all other characters in the animated series who are almost entirely animals that act and dress like humans, even though they still possess very strong animal instincts like Mr. Wolf, who is always hinting at his desire to devour the pig family. In any case, the appearance of jolly old Saint Nick marks a turning point that begins to show that, contrary to what you might have imagined, there really are ordinary people who are neither animals nor vegetables in this fantastic world. And he's not the only one, because another very important character from the real world also appears in the cartoon. But before we talk about her, if you're a fan of cartoons and have watched at least one episode of Peppa, comment below, #Haig. Now, let's talk about a character who actually existed in the real world and made an appearance in Peppa Pig. The Queen of England herself played a significant role in the episode titled The Queen, which at the time was a nod to the real Queen Elizabeth, who was still alive and reigning over Peppa's coterie. In this episode, the monarch decided to award the hardest working person in all of England, who, as you might guess, is Miss Rabbit with her over 100 jobs. Miss Rabbit then heads to the royal palace, bringing along all the children from Peppa's Pink Piggy school to meet the sovereign. There, they eat and have fun jumping in mud puddles with their boots along with the friendly lady, who presents the medal to Miss Rabbit for her services. Thus, we see that it's not just magical beings in human form that inhabit Peppa's planet, but also ordinary humans like the Queen. And more than that, from this point, we learn that an ordinary human is also the queen of animals like Peppa and her family and friends. This implies that if she exists, surely other humans must too, since she must have had at least a mother and a father who brought her into the world. Indeed, a bit further on in another episode, we discover more humans existing in the same environment as the animals. In the episode The Police Station, where the pig family asked the police for help to locate George's beloved missing dinosaur, we see one of the most intriguing scenes of the series. As the officers show Peppa's family all the items stored in their lost and found, we spot some pirate treasures among them. One of the officers noted how odd it was that these treasures, left there by people who believed they had been lost by their owner, had never been claimed by anyone. Just then, a human pirate appears at the door of the police station, looking like he's about to enter, but at the last second he changes his mind and leaves. It actually makes sense because the police would ask where he got that treasure, and he wouldn't have an answer. After all, pirates steal treasures, so he could end up in jail and not come out again. But that's not even the biggest mystery. The real question is, where are this pirate and other humans most of the time? Why do we hardly ever see them anywhere else? This is particularly curious since we have evidence that the area where Peppa and her family live was once inhabited by ordinary humans. Many fans of the show might not realize it, but there are plenty of other pieces of evidence that humans exist, or at least once existed in Peppa's world. In one episode, Peppa and George are helping Grandpa Pig dig in his backyard for old items, and Daddy Pig finds a historical coin. If we zoom in on it, we see it bears the face of a Viking man, referencing a time when Nordic peoples invaded England many centuries ago. This indicates that the area where Peppa, her family, and friends live was once inhabited by ordinary humans and likely had some kind of Viking settlement. Another clue that Peppa's world is our world comes from the depiction of statues around the globe in places that Peppa and her family visit. For example, when the pig family crosses the Atlantic Ocean and arrives in the United States, one of the first things they see is the famous Statue of Liberty in New York. In the face of this huge historical artifact is clearly that of a normal woman. In another episode at the library, we can see an unknown character who is a rhinoceros reading a book, and on its cover is a pair of ordinary humans, possibly depicting a story like Romeo and Juliet or some other love story. All this demonstrates one thing: this world does have humans, but we can't say they live everywhere anymore, as Peppa and her family have traveled to France and the USA, and we can see that all these places are inhabited only by animals of different species. However, we still see traces of humanity everywhere, like in coins, statues, and books. So where could they possibly be? The answer lies in two different places: a book and a cartoon. But before we dive into the end of this mystery, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Just click the link below. There's a fascinating theory that might unravel this incredible mystery about humanity within Peppa Pig's story. It all seems to stem from a cartoon created by three friends and inspired by a fable contained in a book called Animal Farm. The story describes farm animals, including cows like Mrs. Cow and Mr. Bull, sheep like Susie and her mother, as well as horses, rabbits, and other animals. These animals unite and expel the farm owner, taking it over for themselves, and then begin to live without the presence of humans. Their leaders are the pigs, considered the most intelligent of all, much like Peppa and her family. If this theory holds true, it would mean that at some point the animals revolted and drove most humans out of the cities, with a few exceptions, such as the Queen, who represents the country, Santa Claus, a magical figure, and pirates, who mostly live at sea, none of whom were involved in this past rebellion. But if this theory is accurate, where did these humans go? We find this answer in the first cartoon by the creators of Peppa Pig.
Coincidence? I think not!
This cartoon, released in 1999, 5 years before Peppa Pig, tells the story of two brothers, Sir Morris and Sir Boris, who are as tall as two men, as strong as Score, and weigh as much as 16 people, just as the cartoon itself states. Throughout the series, they battle dragons, ogres, and witches, among other types of magical creatures. And, as you might imagine, all this takes place in the medieval era, right? Wrong. Despite being a typical story of Knights of the Round Table, if you watch the show, you'll notice there are quite a few very modern, albeit somewhat rudimentary technologies such as tractors, landline phones, and even televisions. This is certainly something that couldn't have existed 500 years ago, so we can deduce that the people we see in the cartoon are living in modern times, but in a very precarious situation with low-level food and technology. And this would make a lot of sense if this entire population lived in one country and had been expelled from there, having to start everything from scratch. That's why things are so precarious and people are having a hard time in the series. Moreover, we discover another interesting thing. The kingdom where these people live, called Barovia, on the map is next to the land of vampires. And guess who always says she misses her homeland? Madame Gazelle, who, as we know and have shown in our video here on the channel, is definitely a centuries-old vampire. This also reinforces that the inhabitants of Barovia are actually all the humans that once lived in the cities that the animals of Peppa Pig now inhabit, and live peacefully and comfortably, just like in the book Animal Farm. At the end of the book, the pigs start walking on two legs and become the same as the humans they expelled, much like what happens in Peppa Pig's cartoon. So if this theory holds true, we can now say we know where the humans of Peppa Pig live, with a few exceptions. Do you like the theory? Then send this video to that friend of yours who loves cartoons and enjoys theories. These two videos popping up now were selected for you to continue having fun with us. See you in the next video. Cheers!